I'm Jeremy Litchfield, the chair of the Town Commons Committee, and I live on Union Street. I will apologize in advance in the sense that some of you who have been on the council longer have seen some of these slides before as I introduce what the Town Commons Committee is. But trust me, there is new content in here to go through. So if you want to go ahead and scroll ahead. Just a few things that I want to talk about in the beginning, and for anyone who might watch or is listening, just a little introduction to the Town Commons, the committee, some of the history and some of the unique features of the actual Town Commons, and then I'll go over what we've been doing the last year. We've actually accomplished a lot, and some of the things we have a pretty ambitious agenda for what we want to be doing over the next few years. So quick intro, for those who don't know, it's located off Harswell Road, Route 123. It's 72 acres of woodland and marshland, and it's since 1967, it's been managed as a wild forest area. And it's quite a trail network that connects to other trails within the town as well, but it basically offers year-round recreation, whether it's hiking, dog walking, cross-country skiing, biking. There's people out there at all times of the year. In terms of the purpose of the committee, this is what is in our charter. Not necessarily going to read it, but it's really about advocating and steward for the Town Commons. So not only do we do kind of the office work, we're out there getting our hands dirty, doing the cleanup work, doing the trail work, doing some tree replanting as well. So we're a unique committee in that regard. I think the good news is we got a pretty full house with our committee right now. We do have one vacant seat. The two positions I'm most excited about and proud of is that we have both a Bowdoin student member and a Brunswick High School student member. So it was really important for us to have voices across the community and also from younger people to make sure that shared stewardship is really brought into the Commons, and they've been fantastic in terms of their contributions. Just a little bit of history. Just want to recognize it is the ancestral land of the Wabanaki people. It was established in 1719, and it was actually 1,000 acres originally as commonage. I'm going to show you a map that shows you how it's actually been scaled back over the year. But it's had a significant role in the town in many ways. It was kind of part of what helped Bowdoin College come here, and also the Naval Air Station. It's been a source of inspiration for many of the famous authors and thought leaders that have been in Brunswick. And in 2019, celebrated 300 years of the Town Commons. It's one of the oldest conserved spaces in the country, so it's something to be very proud of. This is the map I was talking about. That little red triangle in the corner is what now exists of the Town Commons. The rest of it is original, or as the best as we can determine. A lot of that you can see is actually on the on Brunswick Landing, the runway that's currently there, and some of the new land that will come in to the town very shortly. But you can see what has happened over the years to the Town Commons. Some of the unique features, as I already mentioned, it's one of the oldest public lands in the U.S. We have a pitch pine barren in there, which is very rare landscape in Maine, and they're thriving and doing pretty well. Even more exciting, at least for someone who's a tree nerd, is we have a grove of American chestnuts. If anyone knows anything about American chestnuts, these are pure American chestnuts. It was a dominant species in the eastern U.S. Before a disease came in and wiped them nearly out. What's exciting, we have a chestnut planting program that we're currently doing. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the chestnuts are actually regenerating themselves. They are showing up way beyond the bounds of where we're actually planting them. And the reason why we're doing this is the hope that a genetic mutation is going to originate in good old Brunswick, Maine, and we're going to have American chestnuts thriving again. So some of the work over the last year, in some pictures, we had some bog bridging that we had to do on one of the trails, the Boundary Trail. Unfortunately, it became pretty much a year-round wetland, and with especially a year like this, which has been incredibly wet, that bridging was really important to make sure that people could still access that trail. And we finalized 150 feet there. The rec department had some unused benches, and we had those refurbished and put those out in a couple spots in the commons to provide a place to sit. There's some split rail fence around along 123 that marked as a border. It really wasn't doing much because the road is the border, and it was continually getting damaged from just branches coming down on it. And so we made the decision just to remove it altogether and not have that expense, because it was just something we'd have to deal with again. We removed that, put it on the corners, and then installed some property markers around 123. Each year we do at least 2 cleanups, and when we did those, we've been doing some chestnut restoration work, which is not only planting them. We like to plant about 20 each year, but also going in the winter and clearing out some of the other species that may overtake them, and to make sure that they have the space to thrive. We just recently finished the redesign of the island in the parking lot to make it a little bit more easy to manage, and not having to need continual time and care from the rec department staff. And we launched a quarterly community newsletter. So each quarter we're going to be putting out a newsletter that it goes out through the town channels, just to talk about some of the things we're doing, and let people know what's going on with the town commons. And some of the major upcoming goals that some of these are always just a work in progress. But just continuing the chestnut planting, we're hoping to get our hands on another 20 from the American Chestnut Foundation and implant those. We have some goat road trails, or goat trails, or just trails that have been created by people that are pretty nice trails, but they're not official trails. We're hoping to be able to adopt those as they go over to Harpswell Road, and we're trying to hopefully make a connection point and then a safe crossing over to Brunswick Landing, especially as that land becomes official property of the town. We are working, and tomorrow during our actually meeting, we're going to be working on a more comprehensive trail recommendation that also includes the greater commons, which surrounds the commons and basically is what extends from Bowdoin College all the way out to Middle Bay Road, to help people. I don't think a lot of people actually acknowledge that those are different parcels of land and different ownership. And you know, it's important to recognize that, but we want to have people to understand how they can actually get from one side of town to the other through the trails. This will include creating a more integrated trail map that will probably come up to the council to approve, installing some new trail signage to make it easier for people to find their way out there. There are some parts of the commons, especially in the greater commons, where you get out there and it's easy to get yourself turned around if you don't know where you're going. So we want to make sure that it's accessible and open to everyone, regardless of their comfort with being in the outdoors. Remove non-native invasive species, making sure, you know, everything from poison ivy and trying to control that. That's definitely a problem, parts of it, but making sure things like Japanese knotweed do not all of a sudden come into the commons, and paying close attention to that. Stopping theft of plants. Unfortunately, there is a problem with people taking wild plants and trying to transplant them. It's done with good intent, but not knowing that you can't transplant a lady slipper, it just kills it. It's damaging, and so just taking the efforts to make sure that that's not happening. Enforcing dogs on leash. People go out there and totally understand there's very well-behaved dogs, but the one thing that dogs don't always do is control themselves around wildlife, and we like to manage that as a wild area. There's plenty of deer in there. It's a wildlife corridor in terms of movement of a lot of animals, so we want to be very sensitive that yes, this is land for the people, but it's also land for the flora and fauna that have been there for thousands of years as well. We're looking at updating the natural resource inventory and management plan, and which is a huge undertaking, not going to be done in the next year, but it's on our radar. And then looking to do an accessibility assessment to make sure that that it is not just open to able-bodied people, that everyone who wants to be able to get out in nature has a chance to be able to access some of the parts of the commons that may be not accessible to them right now. So that's all I have. I guess I'll open up, see if there's any specific questions.
Yeah, first I'll just say thank you for coming in and giving this presentation. I know that us, the folks who have been serving on the appointments committee or have served on the appointments committee in the past are more familiar with all the work that you are doing, but I'm glad that you're able to come in and kind of raise what your committee is doing and make sure that folks know about it. Do we have any questions of council? Councillor Hicks.
Just wondering, how do we get on the mailing list for the newsletter? Is that for a whole community?
I think it goes out, I believe, through the Facebook page. All I know is we put it together, and then Dennis helps us get it distributed.
Okay.
So we're hopefully getting to the point where we're going to have an email list, but we don't have that set up right now.
So ask Dennis how to receive it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Ecker.
Quick one. Great presentation, Jeremy. I'm curious, with the connection over to Harpswell Road, it's over Harpswell Road at some point to get over to the perimeter trail. There's also a little tail that goes down from the south down onto Middle Bay Road, which would be a great connection to get over to the Pennellville area if you could safely cross Middle Bay Road. But it's kind of in disrepair. Do you see anything happening with that in the next few years?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. So we're going to be making some broader recommendations on this that are kind of outside of our jurisdiction, because when we get down to Middle Bay Road, that's the Greater Commons, which is part of the Recs Department. That said, we're going to make recommendations on things. It's not going to be we can't say this is what's going to happen. But there's two trails that extend from there. One of them was a future trail. Unfortunately, getting a trail through there is just going to be near impossible given some wetlands. And then there's the one that is currently there on Middle Bay Road. So we have been talking throughout this how we can actually create a safe crossing, because we also know just up on Old Penneville Road, there's a really nice trail that goes out to the water there. And to be able to make it so people can go from town all the way out there with safe crossings on roads is definitely a priority of ours. So we are definitely talking about that. We've been a little bit more active on the Route 123 crossing, since it's a little bit more connected to our direct work, including reaching out to the putting plugs, putting our voices in the ear of the Department of Transportation, which it's being able to get a crossing there is going to be challenging because of the current speed limit of 45 right now. So,
Councillor Watson.
Have you or the committee thought about a program where citizens would be interested in planting chestnut trees outside the commons?
We haven't. That's a great idea, and I think anything we can do to kind of extend that, because typically what happens is around this time of year, Viles Arboretum up in Augusta, they do a sale, and they sell chestnuts for about $20 each. And a few years ago, I actually got some and planted them out at my parents out in Durham. Unfortunately, I don't have enough space here in Brunswick, but I think trying to create a coordinated effort to get other people to plant them on other areas throughout Brunswick is genius, and love it.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Any other questions or comments from council? Not seeing any. Thank you for coming and make this presentation. I'll also make the plug too that if you're interested in joining the Town Commons Committee, I know that there's a vacancy, maybe two, so feel free to check out the town website if you care about our commons and want to get involved.
Yeah, and I would also say, even if you don't have the ability to join the committee, we do have an email list, Friends of the Commons, which we update on when we're doing different volunteer and activities. So that's another option for people as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.